All right. Welcome, everybody. Episode number 19 of Into the Fire, coming to you live from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm Jason White. Alongside of me, Ronnie Leatherman. He wasn't supposed to be here tonight, but he made it to the show, and I'm glad that he did. And tonight is going to be a very, very special show. We are going to have one of our he's one of my little buddies. Well, you're kind of my little buddy, but he was also my little buddy, and that's Matt Frazier. He's going to be the first person that we've actually had on here from Tulsa Homicide. It's kind of like, I guess we could call this a Where Are They Now installment, like one of probably our first, really. And so it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to tonight. I know you guys knew each other for a long time as well.
Yeah, Matt and I think we probably met when I was at the Special Investigations Division. I think I'd been there a couple years, and then Matt showed up, and I don't think we worked in the same squad out there, but we had some times we worked together and had some good times, and we'll probably talk about at least a couple of those here in the next 50 minutes or so. But yeah. And then obviously when I'd been in homicide a few years with you already, and Matt showed up, and him and Justin ran around together, kind of like you and I did. But yeah, I'm glad he's here.
Well, we're all glad to be here. I've talked to Matt before the show. I think this is going to be exciting. We're going to cover a lot of cool things. I've had to remind him that we're not retired, even though he is. But he said nothing is off limits. I'll tell you something. Today, believe it or not, is the 29th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing. I cannot believe that it has been 29 years. It's a day that I remember very well, and it's something that here in Oklahoma, it's just one of those terrible situations. But, if you haven't ever been to the bombing memorial, have you ever been there, Ronnie?
I have been a few times. It's really well done.
Incredibly well done. The outside of the location is open 24 hours a day. You can go there. It's really a moving place. And if you get a chance to go inside of the museum, I happened to look that up, and I couldn't believe that it had already been 29 years. It's insane. And fortunately enough for my family, we actually have a piece of the building that my mom was able to get. She retired as a major from the Oklahoma City Fire Department. So it's something that's kind of a coveted piece of history. Anyway, tonight is, I don't think we need to wait any longer. I don't want to deprive the public from one of the most energetic, dynamic detectives. And people, he wasn't in there a tremendously long time, but he definitely left a footprint there. And he's somebody that I talk very highly of, and I miss him very much. To tell you a little bit about retired detective Matt Frazier, he spent actually 12 years with the Tulsa Police Department. He started out with the North Side Patrol. He worked in street crimes for 1 year, Special Investigations Division, which is narcotics, for 5 years. He also worked in robbery for a year, and then he joined us in homicide for a couple of years. After 12 years of working with the police department, he actually moved on, and he decided to leave us and do something that he felt that he would probably be able to spend a little bit more time with his family. I don't know if that's true or not, that's actually came to fruition or not, because I know he's always at work. He works constantly. But he moved on to Stryker Trauma, and he's been there for a total of 7 years. It's hard to believe that he's been gone for 7 years. And while being there, he's received a few awards that he may talk about, one of which is the Top 5 Rookie Award. He's a member of the Bronze Club, the Silver Club, the Gold Club, and the Platinum Club, which the Platinum Club, as he lists on here, is the top 1% of, I'm going to guess, sales reps. And he works in surgery all the time. And I love this. And I'm glad that I thought to bring him on, because he and I've kind of taken over a case that he started. And we've talked quite a bit about that off the record. And let's welcome retired detective Matt Frazier. Hey, how you doing, buddy?
It's great to see you. Great to see you. I'm gonna tell everybody something. I remember when I first got into homicide, Jason White, Ronnie Leatherman gave me a very special award. My most coveted award that I've ever received in my entire career: police, sales, professional baseball. college basketball, the whole nine. And that is the very special detective award that I received from Jason White and Ronnie Leatherman in my first year in homicide. And I will say that you can't see it now. It's actually my office at work. But it is proudly displayed on my bookshelf in the office at work. So thank you very much.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's
for my very special detective award that I received from Ronnie and Jason. So that was one of my favorite. It is my favorite award that's proudly displayed every day.
Well, I'll tell you what, Matt. I tell you, you and I. The thing about you when you came in there, and Ronnie and I, we worked with a lot of detectives and stuff. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that the detectives that are in the unit, we don't actually have partners. I've mentioned that many, many times before, but there are certain detectives that you just gravitate to and you run with. Ronnie was the guy that I think he and I ran together a ton. You and Justin Ritter were like a duo also, and you guys just worked really well together. And regardless of what the case was, and believe it or not, a lot of people might not know this also, we actually back then we worked on 2 separate crews within homicide. So we covered different days. But even then, Ronnie and I, if you had a case or if Justin had a case, I think we found ourselves oftentimes working with them because we liked running with you guys. It was just a lot of fun. And you brought a tremendous amount of energy to the unit, which I have to compliment you to. You're always positive, man. I loved it, and passionate about what you were doing. And I just really appreciate that.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, I tell you what, when we first got there, I like to have fun, right? If it starts feeling like work or a job, then you need to go find something else to do, and being in the unit with you guys, with you and Ronnie, even Zanoni, even that crotchety old guy, who I knew for a long time before homicide, and the rest of the guys in that squad, that was probably the most fun I had on the police department by far. Learned a lot from you guys. I knew Ronnie before, I kind of cut my teeth in investigations with Ronnie out at SID. He was in narcotics. I was in Vice, same with Justin. I kind of followed Justin around, Justin went from the field to street crimes. I went from the field to street crimes about a year after he did. He left and went to robbery, or to SID in narcotics, where he was Ronnie's partner actually in narcotics. Right. And then, he made the jump to street or the crime scene, right, and then robbery, detective division, right, and then ultimately homicide. So I kind of made the same path as Justin, from SID to robbery to homicide, and like just taking a lot of those. We worked with a lot of the same guys over the years. Jason, what are you, like 25 years in and change? And you guys had a lot, obviously a lot more time than I did. And it was fun to watch I call you the younger, older guys, right? Guys that are over that 10, 15-year mark, but still have a lot of juice left and aren't just disgruntled and a little angry. And, it was fun to see people still have a little fire in their belly every day, walking in and solving cases and talking to people and doing those kind of things. I didn't know what I was doing when I got in there. You guys I would never admit that back then, but I had no idea what I was doing. And I loved watching you and Ronnie work and Mike and, and even Justin too, like watching you guys work and talk to people and investigate and interview and, get those confessions and all that kind of stuff. And I just absorbed it, man. I tried to be the biggest sponge on the planet, man. And then the only thing I could really bring to the unit at the time was, being a little crazy, which is in my personality, right? Being a little loud and, trying to have a good time. And at the same time, solving some murders. Right. And I think that crew, that was probably my favorite crew, on the department by far, was that homicide crew my first year. Well, I think we had a lot of fun. Our first case was a freaking missing person for 3 months. And you guys helped out a ton on that Ray Howard case,
and stop for a quick second. I want to ask you a quick question. So with respect to Ray Howard, and that was your very first case. And just to let the listeners know, that's a case. I mean, he's sitting there, and I don't even think that you realized that you were going to get that case until we were talking about it in the meeting. And then that's all of a sudden when you were told that case is yours, Matt. And it first of all, it's a missing person case that we believe to be a homicide. So what did I tell you right after that meeting? Do you remember? Let's see how well you remember. And I said,
go ahead.
I gave you a suggestion. I said, hey, I think we should go over to that apartment and what should we do?
Luminol.
That's right.
Right.
And what happened?
We found nothing. I'm totally kidding. That totally broke the case. I mean, totally 100% broke the case, man. Found that
it definitely let us
blood. Yeah, found that massive blood spot underneath the carpet and the concrete, which eventually tested, which came back to Ray, or a male descendant of Ray, until we found Ray to compare it. And what a great case. There's a lot of police work done. A little bit of luck, but a lot of police work, a lot of investigating.
It was a ton of fun.
A lot of fun. And then, years later, finally some closure, which was great. But yeah, that was a pretty wild case to get for my first one. Definitely was not a what do we call them? A layup, slam dunk. What are we calling them now?
Grounder.
No.
Grounder.
Baseball.
Yeah, it's grounder. I forgot. That's a grounder. Definitely not a grounder, but fun.
Hey, what? So you're a super athletic guy. Your family is. I don't know if I've ever heard this. If so, I've forgotten. How did you end up becoming a cop? I don't know if I've ever heard this story.
This is a great story. It kind of my whole life started right when all this did. At the time, I graduated from ORU, and I was working with the Colorado Rockies as a strength conditioning coach in the minor league system. I was there a couple of years. Had some great players come through that I got to be a part of. Matt Holliday, one of them, Brad Hopp, and several other big league guys, some probably Hall of Fame guys at some point. And, I ended up meeting my wife that summer of 2003. So June, July-ish, 2003. She was an avid baseball fan there with her dad. I threw baseball with my name and phone number on it and threw it up in the stands to her, right? And for some reason, she called me. I think I tricked her. I think she thought I was a player. I played a little bit of. I played high school baseball, a little bit of college baseball, and so I was a bullpen catcher, hit fungos, all that kind of stuff. And I'm out there trotting around in my uniform with shin guards on, heading the bullpen, go catch. And I think I tricked her thinking I was a player. Right? She gives me a phone call, and then I had to let her down with a little disappointment. And let her know I was just an intern, right? Just making some money. Well, it's a funny thing is, we fall in love. We get married January that year, and have our first son Bryce, and it was time to find a real job. And I always loved watching cops and the narcotic scenes, the guys kicking indoors, chasing bad guys, and just the adrenaline rush. And I had two opportunities. Okay, I had a job offer from Curves, which is a women's gym that's kind of a franchise around, to be kind of like a general manager to make some really good money, or I had the opportunity to become a policeman. Paul Ura, I don't know if you guys remember Paul Ura, but Paul Ura was our security guard at the ORU games. So I always just talked to him about being a policeman and things of that nature. And Paul, when I graduated my senior year, he was up there, working security at the admissions day, and he was like, dude, you should check it out. Right. And I was like, I don't know. Anyway, fast forward, me and my wife, we get married, got to find a real job, got to have insurance, all those kind of things. And I had a decision to make, and I looked at Nicole and I said, hey, I don't know what to do. It'd be great to go make $80,000 a year, or, doing this. And, it'd also be really fun to go be a policeman. And she goes, you better go be a policeman. She goes, I don't think I can put up with you in corporate America. You need to go rip around. You need to go, do your thing and be a cop. So, and that's kind of where it all started. Was with, kind of a combination of things, man. My life sped up really fast. And then we've been married 20 years in January this year. We got married January 3rd, 2004. So 20 years this year, still going strong. Two boys, Bryce and Cooper, 19 and 17, one at Ole Miss and one junior in high school.
Nice. Old Miss.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I knew the baseball story, how you guys met. I didn't know the second part of that, I don't think.
Yeah. I had an opportunity to go be a, kind of corporate gym guy, and said, no, I'm going to go be a policeman. Worked out pretty good though, I think.
Yeah.
So what was it in your policing career? I mean, was homicide something that was on your radar when you actually joined the department, or was that something that you kind of became interested in while you were there? Kind of a deal.
The first thing I wanted to do was be a dope cop, right? Like, I mean, I wanted to, serve search warrants, do dope investigations. I loved undercover work. That was one of my favorite things. That was my big deal when I first got on, right? I was always chasing dope in a police car, typing search warrants in patrol, like doing whatever I could do to get into SID, man. That was like, the mecca to me at that time. And once I finally got in, had a blast. Spent several years in Vice. Got to work with Ronnie and Justin, and several other guys that are in homicide or were in homicide that kind of cut their teeth investigations and narcotics. And that was where I thought I wanted to stay. Right, a lifestyle gets a little rough as you get older. I think we could all attest. And working 6 to 2 a.m. and all those undercover investigations and the things that come along with that. I think it was just kind of time to make a change. Well, at that point in time, there was a robbery spot open. I wanted to get, I didn't want to go back to the field, but I wanted to keep kind of climbing the ladder, so to speak, in investigations, and robbery was kind of that next step. Got into robbery, and that was a great squad. That was a fun time. You're chasing, you got for lack of a better term, like real victims, right? Like, they're commercial victims. They're not drug dealers or, bad guys, or whatever else. Your victims are normal people like, you or I, or a bank teller or a Quick Trip or who knows what. You're chasing real bad guys, right? That are committing violent crimes. And you feel like you're doing a little bit more, right? I don't think anybody realizes when you're in narcotics, you do a police report, like every crime has to have a victim, right? Well, the victim is also the suspect when you write a dope report. You know what I mean? So like, it was time to like really kind of get into that where, you want to start doing investigations, real victims, real bad guys, and kind of stop chasing the dope game. And that's where you kind of cut your teeth. Or I did was in robbery, which is super fun, right? A lot of surveillance, a lot of car chases, right? A lot of search warrants, a lot of bank robberies, stuff like that. And as everyone I think knows, I'm a very competitive person. It doesn't matter what it is, man. We could be playing checkers. Career, I mean, I'd dunk on my 8-year-old when he was 8 if I could, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't care. Like, we were going to win. And, the next logical step, obviously, the top echelon of investigators, policemen is homicide. I mean, that's the creme de la creme, right? That's the best of the best. And at the time, there's two thoughts going through my mind, like another squad with real crimes, real victims, and real bad guys, right? The worst of the worst. And the challenging part about this, and I think what I really wanted to jump into and push myself and test myself to see how good I really was to go solve those terrible crimes when you don't have a victim to speak, right? A lot of times you don't have a witness. You got to go really dig into investigations, really do the interviews, really do, the paperwork and the real police work, right? Like the real investigation to get to the end of that lead, that tunnel, that murder, to put somebody in prison for a very long time, and get the real heinous criminals, bad guys off the street, right? And that was kind of where it ended. And where do you go from there, right? Yeah. I mean, where do you go from homicide? It's hard to go up from there. It's hard to keep doing it. What do? You promote, go back to the field. I mean, that's a tough spot to be in, especially like, just to be honest, as a young guy, right? Like I was pretty young getting a homicide. I had, I don't know, 7-8 years on, 9 years, maybe, whatever it was, and I'm sitting there looking at myself going, I got another 20 years to do this. I got here pretty quick. And that's just in my nature, right? Keep climbing the ladder, keep being competitive, keep doing your thing.
So along those lines, looking back on it now, just with your personality and obviously me knowing you, do you think robbery is a lot more high paced than homicide was? There's a motherload of robberies in Tulsa, and there's 60 to 80 murders. Do you think it would have been better for you to stay in robbery a little longer?
I've told people this before, like, man, we talked about it, like we're, nothing's off limits. And I think I'd still be a policeman today if I was still in robbery. 100%.
Really?
Yeah. I think I'd still be a policeman today if I was still in robbery. Working murders, there's a lot of things, I love to be happy. I love to be, to joke around and have fun. Not that it's hard to do in the homicide unit, but it's definitely more difficult, right? Some of that stuff wears on you day in, day out. In robbery, nobody dies for the most part. I mean, they do sometimes, but for the most part, right? Like you're chasing bad guys, right? You're putting them in jail. You got real victims. You can talk to them. You're making people whole by either returning what they stole, or put them in jail, or you get that to fill that void, or that kind of that adrenaline rush with a car chase, or sitting on a serial robber of Walgreens or something, and you see it happen in front of you, right? You don't get that in homicide. I mean, you get that different kind of investigation. You still get that rush, right? That rush is different though. That rush is when you see the blood spatter, right, in the carpet. 6 months, 4 months later, right?
Yeah.
The rush is
epic.
The rush is asking a question, not knowing that you're getting ready to get a confession, and they slap you in the face with it, right? Or stumbling into whatever's going to break that case. That's just going to put the last nail in the coffin, and that's where you get that rush in homicide, right? Or you figure out who your guy is, you see him in person. It's almost like they're famous, right? Like you see these guys on paper, you see these guys on bulletins, you see them on video, you stare at their picture, their traces stuff, their Facebook, their Instagram, whatever it is, for hours a day, trolling them, figuring out where they are, trying to find them, and those things. You see them in person, it's almost like you're kind of starstruck. You get excited, right? You want to go get them, you want to go put hands on them, put them in jail, go interview them, go talk to them. So that kind of rush in homicide is great. But I think the way, just like Ronnie said, man, like I've always got to be going, right? Homicide is way slower. We might work maybe 7, 6, 5 murders a year as an investigator, as the lead investigator, where you're working 70, 80, whatever, robberies a year, and running and gunning. So, I think definitely my competitive nature, me wanting to be the best, that's what propelled me into homicide, and then figuring out how to work those and navigate those cases was what kept me there for as long as I did. But I think that, the thrill, the rush, the investigations, the bad guys, the fast pace, everything else, if I stayed in robbery, I'd probably still be a policeman.
That's shocking to me. I never knew that about you when you say that, because so with that said, let's say you had some young detective that worked, or an officer for that matter, and he came up to you and he goes, "Hey, listen, I know you worked homicide. You went through all these different stages. Would you kind of say, hey, you might want to stick around longer doing sex crimes or robbery or anything else, narcotics, before you kind of make the plunge to go to homicide?"
Yeah, I mean, it depends upon the person too, right? I think there's a lot of people that are probably cut, Jason and Ronnie are both, both of you guys are cut for homicide, man. Like you guys are born to work murders, right? And you were, Dave Walker, probably same thing, he was born just to work. It didn't matter what it was. That guy just freaking worked. Like him or not, right? And he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But at the same time, like he was a worker. And you see, you guys, and Jason, you've probably seen it the most, is the turnover in homicide, right? Mike Zanoni, same way. Like he was probably born to work murders. John Brown was kind of like Dave, born to work, right? And it didn't matter what pace it was, he was going to just keep running down the path.
Right.
So you run into a guy like me who's like just kind of headstrong and wants to go fast all the time and want to get into that. I think you gotta tell them the truth, right? Because what you don't want them to do, what I wouldn't want them to do, is to jump into something, that you're going to hate in 2 or 3 years, or you're not going to want to be there in 2 or 3 years. And then where do you go from there? Because let's be honest, right? The guys that are in homicide are the best of the best, right? The guys in homicide have big egos. I mean, I think that's pretty fair. And moving anywhere from homicide, like back to a robbery or back to burglary, not taking anything away from those guys, but in your mind, that's kind of like taking a step down, right? Or it's a step away, or, I wasn't good enough for this, or wasn't for me. Right. And so that's kind of a hard thing to do. So somebody that's got a younger career, or somebody that wants to keep going, 20, 30 years as a policeman with 10 years on, you got to think about those things, right? Like, am I going to stay in homicide forever? Do I want to promote? There's a lot of things that kind of go into that. But at the same time, I've never felt the feelings I had in homicide, right? Whether it's solving a case, catching a bad guy, talking to a family, something that I bring, we've got 5 guys on our team here in Tulsa where I work now, Stryker, and something that we bring to that, I bring a lot of our squad in homicide to what we do here. Right. Like we started our territory at Stryker with $1 million in business, and we've grown it to almost, a little over $9 million business in 6 years. Right. But we do that the same way that we used to solve murders. Right. Like we attacked everything as a team. We were really close, even though, hey, sometimes we got in arguments, or sometimes we didn't agree with each other, whatever else. I still think that we were very close. And I miss that, right? Like that's the biggest thing I miss about being a policeman and being in a squad, is the camaraderie, the friendships we had forever. Like I tell you guys I tell you guys I love you, and I do. Mike Zanoni, when he retired, I cried. I mean, like everybody in that squad, even the narcotics, I don't really miss the work. but I miss you guys. Like I miss the people. I miss walking
Yeah.
into work every day and having that, having that camaraderie, having that team of guys you can talk to anybody about, right? We could talk to each other about anything in the world. You know what I mean? Problems at home, freaking kids are doing great. Didn't matter what it was, right? Like we could go have a beer or go to lunch or have a barbecue, go to birthday parties. Like we spent a lot of time together, I think, in developing those relationships. And I think that's why Tulsa is so great. That Tulsa Homicide Unit is absolutely in the top 1% in the world, period, point blank. And they're that way because of the way they attack cases. They're that way because of the culture they bring. That was there, from Mike Huff to Dave Walker to Brandon Watkins, and all the other supervisors, Nathan and everybody else. Like everybody brings that culture. Everybody brings that presence. Everybody brings that intensity. And passion and love for their job and each other. And that's why the TPD Homicide Unit is the absolute best unit on the planet, 100%. I tell people that all the time.
There's the gym I go to, there's a guy that works with you that I ran into, I don't know, it's been a couple weeks ago, and then I saw him again the other day. He's a big guy, tall.
Dustin.
What's his name?
Is it Dustin?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And he came up to me, he was like, "Hey, you're Ronnie, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Oh, I work with Matt." And I'm like, "Okay." So we sat there and talked forever, and he just spoke really highly of you as well. And he even threw some stuff about the first 48 and how just the stuff he had seen, how he said similar things about the homicide unit as well. So just so you know, I don't know if you're his boss or whatever, but he was speaking highly of you. And so anyway, it was a nice conversation I had with him.
Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. But I mean, it is the truth. I mean, think about it. You guys know it, right? Like the way that we attack stuff and the way that we treated each other. I mean, that's how we attack our sales. We attack our case coverage. We attack, all the logistics and I mean, everything that we do with our job. I mean, think about it. Like we run a $9 million business. I mean, that's a big business, and it takes a lot to be able to make sure that's efficient and it runs well. And literally, we run it like our call schedule is just like the homicide call schedule, right? Like who's up, who's second, who's on deck, who's in the whole nine. I mean, from that to, how we cover cases, how we learn, how we do everything is all comes from the way, everybody kind of attacked and worked in a homicide unit. And it's worked out well for us.
That's awesome. Love it. You said something about, when you kind of teared up or whatever, when somebody would leave and I'll tell you, when I watched that episode where you ended up leaving and you're taking all your things off of the wall and stuff like that, to include that certificate that Ronnie and I ordered you with. I tell you, absolutely. And every time I see that, dude, I'm telling you, man, I still kind of well up with tears because it was it hurt to see you leave. It really did. And I wanted to see you stick around a little longer, but I also get it. And so from that point, when you left, how long has it taken really, or how long did it take for you to go, I made the right choice? I don't miss it. I know that there had to have been a period of time because I know I've heard you tell the story of, I think you may have even told it in the episode when you were turning your gun in or when you were leaving and you were driving up to the academy to do that. And I'm sure that was a gut-wrenching decision for you to make. So you have to remember, for those of you that are listening, I think in this industry, it's a little bit different than any other. This is an identity. It really is. You're part of a culture and an identity, and it's incredibly difficult to leave.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean,
so what was that like?
I cried like a baby all the way to the academy, 100%. Blatantly lied, told them I lost my badge so I could keep it. I mean, but, I tell you, and even more so for us, right? Because, for policemen, that you're right. Like it is an identity. It is who you are. I haven't lost any of that where I'm at. And I think, for the guys that were on the show, especially the ones that were on for quite a while, that identity is even more so, right? Because, people see you, people expect you to, say hi, do whatever, ask about a case, like even now, like I'm 7 years out, and I got a beard, I got longer hair, and it kind of keeps people from recognizing me, but they still do it, right? And they still talk about it. And so that identity is going to follow us forever. You know what I mean? And so leaving that was, the hardest decision I've ever made in my life. You know, I jumped off the diving board into the deep end head first, not having a clue. You know, I just knew we needed to change. We, as in, you know, me and my wife, my kids, you know, we were ready for it. You know, and if anybody,
Amanda, show that picture of. I got a question on here of, does Matt still wear the bow tie? Because he is known as the bow tie guy. There you go. Does he still wear it?
Yeah, there you go. There it is. Yep. That was the shout out to the St. John's OR staff that made me a bow tie out of gauze and I think it's steri strips, you know. So
love it.
That was, yeah, we'll still throw it on every now and then just because.
So
I do love it.
Along the lines of you leaving, right before you left, you and me and some others went on a hiking trip out to New Mexico, and you and I rode together there and back in your car. We got pulled over on the way back, but
he did not see us going that fast.
He did not see us, and we had switched drivers. But anyway, even during that drive, I vaguely remember you and I having talks about just kind of maybe it was time for a change. And I mean, had you already made your decision there at that point, or was you just stuff? Just kind of...
That was that trip, man. Like we went to we went to New Mexico. We went to Chimayosis Peak. You know, spent some days there. And I'll be honest, man. I actually wrote like a big deal on LinkedIn about it a while ago. But standing on top of that mountain, I made the decision right then and there. Like, I'm done. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea. I have no backup plan. I have nothing else. You know, I have nothing. You know, when I get home, I'm going to go tell my wife, I'm going to find a new job. Right. Yeah. And I remember like that drive home was crazy. That whole trip was kind of crazy. You know, I still take that trip. I've been on that trip twice since by myself.
I remember you'd win at least once. I didn't know it was twice, but yeah.
I've been twice. Once by myself and another with a good friend that I've met, you know, doing this now, Clint Cater. But you know, literally stand on top of that mountain. I don't know what it was. Something hit me, but it was time. You know, something told, you know, myself or something told me it was over.
Yeah.
Let's dig into that for a minute.
Let me just tell this.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I told people this story more than once. The crazy thing to me about that one day was, I think at some point it was me, you, and Dave Bryce kept going. And I even wanted to keep going at some point. And you were the smart one, the rational one at that point, not typical going 100 miles an hour, Matt. You're like, hey guys, remember, we got to get back to our campsite and it's getting dark. And there's that like waist deep snow that we got to go through. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, I was like, no, let's keep going. And you were the voice of reason that day, which seems kind of opposite of how it would normally be.
That was the one time ever in my life that I've ever done that. And then the only reason I really did it is because I've been stuck on a mountain in a rainstorm in the evening and trudging back through, waist deep snow in the dark, in the rain is not fun. It's not fun. And I think it was probably the only wise decision I've ever made backpacking, probably, that didn't involve, I don't know. That was, I don't know why I did that, but I'm kind of glad we did, because if you remember, we got back to the campsite and it just pissed rain about right at the time we got in. So
it was a great decision you made, and I appreciate it. But yeah, it was kind of opposite of what it normally would have been, I think.
The only time ever.
Go ahead, Jason. Sorry.
Yeah. And so you made it. Was there something that happened, or was there a particular case that you had that kind of made you start wanting to just move on? Was there something going on?
There was one case that started this whole thing, and it wasn't. We didn't even work it. Child Crisis worked it, and I don't know if you remember, but it was a murder suicide in Broken Arrow-ish, but Tulsa address, and it was a foreign family. And the guy shot his 4-year-old daughter, I think his 6-year-old son, and their 2-year-old son that was sleeping in bed, and then his wife, and then he went on the back porch and took his own life. And just walking through that crime scene, I think at that point in time, it was just like a lot of things went through my head, like, and it was number one, right? Like you try to be numb to it. You try to just not personalize it. You try to dehumanize it. I don't care who you are. I don't care how tough you are. I don't care.
Yeah.
it's going to affect you. Right. And at that point, it did affect me. Right. And that was probably 6 months before I left or so, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe 8. But I'll say, from then on, it was kind of like the thought that went through my mind was like, what kind of person would do something like this? Number one. Right. And then now it's up to us to investigate this. Right. And really child crisis, but it could have, very well could have been us. And then it's okay. Well, now we're out here and we're doing all this stuff. We're risking our lives. We're doing all these things, and we're doing it because we want the public to be safe, right? We want to take bad guys off the street. And at some point, this never really felt like a job to me until that day, right? My police career never, ever, ever felt like a job to me. I felt like I don't know what it felt like, right? Like it was like I was going to a party with my friends every day or something. Like I don't know how to explain it, but it didn't feel like a job till that day. That day forward, it was kind of like, all right, this is all very real stuff. Excuse me. And this is all. I don't know how to describe it, but it was something changed almost instantaneously when I walked out of that house that day, and I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what that feeling was. But when I left, I just kind of knew that it was, I was going to start looking, just going to start trying to figure out what my police career was going to look like, whether it wasn't homicide or not, or if I was going to move on or whatever else. I don't know. But that was kind of the day that it all started for sure.
Well, let's talk about a happy story then. So I'm back at SID days. I got called in by, I don't remember who it was in patrol. They found a big giant indoor marijuana grow, and back then, not as much as homicide. There was a ton of meth labs back in the day when I first got in SID, and so there was a rotation call. Is my point of all that. So for whatever reason, I get the call that day. I think it was on a Saturday. Hey, there's this big indoor marijuana grow. Can you come in and help us? We don't know what to do with it. So I come in, and I don't know if anyone else wasn't available or what the deal was, but with you being in Vice, you guys worked Saturday. So I get a hold of you and kind of.
It was right on my way into work. It was like 4 o'clock or something, right? Yeah. It was like late afternoon. Yeah.
Tell the people how that kind of went, because it's a funny story and it was good times.
Oh, it's great, dude. Like Ronnie calls me on Saturday. He says, "Hey, can you come help me out? We got this big marijuana grow, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Sure." And it's actually down the street from my dad's house. I don't know if you remember that or not. Remember that house was pretty big, nice house, South Tulsa, kind of by Southern Hills, and. We're sitting there and we're kind of like, we start walking through it and we're just like, holy shit, this thing's huge, right? Like it's big plants. I don't know. How many were there? 50?
There was
60?
A ton of plants. The lighting stuff,
everything, right? And we're running out of stuff to put, like a car to put it in. Like we don't have room. So I call my dad, George, down the street. And I say, hey dude, need to borrow a red. We call old red was an old 93 Chevy Z71 pickup truck. That was my truck in high school. And I gave it to my dad when I got a real job and, could buy my own stuff. Gave back to my dad. And we used it as a farm truck, hunting truck or whatever. Man, he just thought he was the coolest thing ever. I can't remember if he drove it over or if I went and picked it up. I think he drove it over, didn't he? And we ended up freaking loading this truck full of weed, marijuana plants. I mean, the entire truck was stacked full. I think it was even hanging out of like the windows in the front seat and stuff, dude. I mean, it was insane. And me and Ronnie, we were driving it downtown to the downtown. Remember, because we had to take it to the downtown property room, right? Because they had to put it in like paper bags and like all this other crap, and we couldn't turn it in plastic because it was gonna destroy it. All this other shit. Anyway, we drove from 68th and Harvard to downtown Tulsa and passed how many police cars? At least 10 or 15, 20 police cars. Easy, marked police cars. Okay? In a 1993 Chevy pickup truck. Square body 1993 Chevy pickup truck. That wasn't nice, Jason.
with probably an expired tag to boot.
It was expired. In fact, I don't even know if it had a tag. Like, it was a hunting truck. I mean, we drove that thing to the deer land and deer camp, and that was kind of it. Or just doing stuff like this, just kind of towing stuff around. Well, we get all these marijuana plants loaded up, and we're literally driving down the street, and there's like rust in the rear quarter panel. I mean, the paint, the clear coat's chipping off. I mean, Ronnie,
how many of the
if we were at SID, would we have stopped this car?
Yeah.
Would we have stopped this car without the marijuana in it?
Yes.
Absolutely. You absolutely would have. And so would have I. Now you got two guys, which, right? Like, I don't know how many pictures, if you got pictures of me and Ronnie from SID, but if you do, throw them up there so they can see these two freaking mullions driving down the road in this 93 Chevy pickup full of marijuana plants. Okay, on the city streets, mind you, not Riverside, not the highway, city streets all the way to downtown, past 15 to 20 policemen, not one person stopped us. Not one.
Brutal.
And to be honest, I was pretty disappointed.
Brutal.
I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty disappointed.
Well, throw up a couple of, we don't have that picture, but let's throw up a couple of pictures of him when he was actually at work with us. There you go. I love that picture.
Oh,
you look
man,
like a little kid there, actually.
I know.
Hey, and as the picture's going up, tell the story about your buddy Dupler needing our help one day.
Do what?
I said, while they're showing the pictures of you, if they got more, go ahead, Amanda. But tell the story of your buddy Dupler needing our help one night. You remember that?
Which one? When what?
When we had to catch the guy that was running from him because he's.
Oh yeah, dude, he was too slow out there. It was short north, right? Like over there off of Pine and Cincinnati. And Josh Dupler, God, I wish he was listening right now. This would be so great. But Josh Dupler, who's a human weapon, if you didn't know, he self-proclaimed human weapon, by the way. Loves to chase bad guys. Great policeman, by the way. Former professional fighter, like the whole nine, right? And he loved, he loved chasing bad guys, and he always claimed he could catch them all. It doesn't matter, foot chase, fight, doesn't matter. Nobody was getting away from Josh Dupler. And by God, if one night Ronnie Leatherman and Matt Frazier didn't come to save the day, and by the way, I still remind him about that often, about how we ended up catching that guy for Josh Dupler, and he was running up. Remember, he was all huffing and puffing.
Oh yeah,
just like sweating bullets, all disheveled, shirt untucked, radio flung all everywhere. I think he may have had a hat on backwards. I don't remember, but we were just like, oh, hey, Josh.
Yeah, hey.
You looking for him?
If I remember correctly, we even had to hop a couple fences before we caught up to the guy.
We did, yeah.
Josh had a big head start on us, and we blew right past him.
We did. We passed him. 100% passed him, yeah. Yeah. You know what? Another funny story. I don't know if you remember this, dude. Do you remember Justin Ritter hit a big lick downtown, right? Do you remember this?
I didn't know if you were part of that.
I was a part of this. The car crash?
The guy
Yes, guy on the phone at Quick Trip, right? And then they call it in, or somebody calls it in, or Justin hears it. Justin hears the guy talking about stabbing somebody, right?
No, I heard it.
Yeah, that's right.
And I got on the radio, nobody will come and help us in patrol. And we're in an unmarked car with a car full of drugs and money that we're, again, waiting on the property room to come in because it's in the middle of the night. And I don't know if patrol didn't believe us or what, but finally I said something to the effect of, assign a supervisor if nobody wants to come and help us. Yep. Turns into a crazy chase. And
we would never chase a car in an unmarked car, Ronnie.
No, never.
Never, ever.
We were paralleling.
100%. And remember that guy T-boned a minivan at like 15th and Cincinnati or 15th in Denver, then took off running.
Yeah.
Right? And literally, right before that search warrant, I ate a Southwest chicken wrap from Quick Trip, okay, and a cherry Coke. And it didn't stay down very long because I jumped out of that car and took off running with that stupid LBV and we chased that guy for like 2 blocks and finally caught him. And then I threw up everywhere.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still will not eat a Southwest chicken wrap from Quick Trip.
Well, listen, 100%. I want to mention this before we, I want to mention something before we don't have time to do it, but you'd mentioned something that you'd work for the Colorado Rockies, which we should pay tribute to your dad, George Frazier. When you mentioned George, there's George Frazier. That's Matt as a little kid. And so George, he played for many Major League Baseball teams, doesn't he still hold a World Series record to this day?
Yeah, he does. Man, I haven't talked about my dad in a long time. Yeah, man, he holds a record for the most losses in the World Series, 1981 against the Dodgers. He's pitching for the Yankees. In fact, this picture right here is this is a picture of him at the end of Game 3 on the mound right after the third loss in the World Series, hanging his head. And who would have thought, that was pretty close to his rookie season, 1981. I think his first year in the big leagues was 79, something like that. Mm-hmm. And, here he is, and moved on for a really great 11-year career from that. So 1-1 in 87 with the Twinkies, beat the Cardinals. Great human.
Yeah. What other teams did he play for?
So he's drafted by the Brewers, went to St. Louis, traded to New York. From there, went to Cleveland for a small stint, came to the Cubs with Blyleven in 84, I believe. Traded to Minnesota in 86, won a World Series 87, traded to Houston in 88, and then he retired in 88 from the Astros.
And he dated a famous person for a minute, right?
Yeah, he did. He dated Cyndi Lauper for a good decent amount of time there. Yeah, when in New York. So
another George story I have, and that's what he insisted people call him just George, right?
Yep. Mr. Frazier was his dad. I mean, you had to call him George or he'd tear your face off.
And so another hiking trip we went on with a group of guys. I think most of the guys that went to New Mexico with us, but we went up to Colorado.
Yep.
Crazy
raw wilderness.
Yeah, we get into a crazy storm. I tell people I survived a tornado that night because of the wind. I remember
we did.
Wes Phelps was rolling down the hill or something with him in it. I think it was Wes. But we decide to make the again, probably smart decision because we plan on being out there a couple more days. We decide we're going to head back. We get into Denver. And George hooks us up with some Rockies tickets and a hotel and just a great deal. And I remember at the end, somebody had to pay for the hotel rooms. And so for whatever reason, I happened to be there. And so I pay for them. And your dad finds out about it. And he's like, no, they're charging you. I stay here. Anyway, he had whatever relationship with that hotel. He was like, give me your receipt, goes back in. He's in there for, 3 or 4 minutes, comes out and he gives it back to me. And he's like, check your credit card statement in a couple of days. You guys aren't paying for this hotel room. And sure enough, the bill never showed up. So every interaction I had with him was positive and great. And just, I can't say enough good stuff about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a hell of a guy.
He did a good job raising you, Matt. And I'm really proud of you and what you've done in your life. And I'm just really proud of you. And so I got to meet him, a couple of times, and I'm glad I did because I just remember watching him play when I was a little kid. So very cool.
So he thought, well, I'd say this real quick. He thought the world of you guys. I'll be honest. He watched that show all day, every day. Man, he loved, he was good friends with Dave too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm sorry to bring it up, but I know you. It's just it. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Matt.
It's okay.
I'll tell you, an amazing person. What a footprint that he put on the world, really, and just the amount of people that, as a kid growing up around all of those players and stuff, to be able to walk out on Wrigley Field and all those various places, that had to have just been just incredible,
Oh yeah.
Did he?
You think about the guys that he got to play with. So, introduced Dave Winfield to his wife. Played for Billy Martin. Yogi Berra was his hitting coach. Burt Blyleven, Goose Gossage. I don't know, dude. You name it. Like a lot of the greats, Nolan Ryan. Like you name it. I mean, he played with a lot of guys. Dad was a really good cheater. He used a lot of Vaseline, sandpaper. He did what he needed to do to get it out. Never would have got away with it nowadays, but his life too. If you lived in Tulsa or played sports in Tulsa, in the 80s and the 90s, you bought a pair of tennis shoes or shoulder pads or a uniform or a hat or a glove, from George Frazier Sporting Goods. And he just did. That's all there was, back then. So it's funny how people come up and talk to me about that, and they'll tell us about the experience, because Dad would be on the floor, literally 12, 15 hours a day. He'd say hi to everybody, he'd shake hands. He'd give you the shirt off his back. If he'd never even met you before, so left a very long standing legacy with all his kids. He's got four, there's four of us, and all of us, we think about him every day, obviously. And, everything that he did for us and everything he did, for me in baseball, he was in baseball 45, 50 years, broadcaster, player, all that stuff. And everything he did for a lot of programs in the area and the country and kids and youth and amateur pitching and everything. And, he's got a lot of stamps, a lot of footprints on a lot of people.
Yeah.
Tell us, I was going to say just briefly, Matt, because we're running out of time. So a lot of people who know you, whenever you come up, like we like to joke about you're doing surgeries now, even though, briefly, don't violate HIPAA or anything, but what's a day in the life of Matt Frazier nowadays?
Oh man, day in the life of Matt Frazier starts about 5 a.m. So we work in orthopedic trauma. So if you're the unfortunate person to get in a rollover car wreck or break your leg or whatever else, and you get a screw or a rod or plate and screws or whatever it is, to kind of try to get back to your everyday life. We're the consultants that come in the OR. We're the ones that provide those implants to take care of patients and service those surgeons and hospitals in Northeast Oklahoma.
Okay. Perfect. Love it. Listen, you're writing a book, and I think is what you told me earlier. So hopefully that's going to come out in the near future. He's one of those type of people like myself that if you follow him on Instagram, he'll actually respond to you when he has the chance. So he's very approachable, absolutely. And he's just that type of a person. We love him. And that's basically, what do you want to, any last words? Because we've got about 30 seconds.
Yeah, nothing, dude. Hey, man, just love you guys. I miss you a ton, I promise. The other guys in the squad and everything else. It was so much fun having me on. I want to do it again. You figure out when and let me know. And
for sure,
buddy.
For sure, man.
Definitely had some good times and away from work as well. So I appreciate it.
100%.
And you and I are going to be having some court time together because we got a 2015 case resolved that was your last open case, and that's a case that I took over, and we're going to be we got it solved. So Matt will be back in the courtroom down the line, and I look forward to that. It's going to be a blast. Listen, everybody, thank you all for being with us tonight. It's been a great time, and man, love you. I really do. I have mad respect for you, Matt. You're one of my favorite people, and you're definitely missed. And man, we'll do this again. I promise. Okay. Next week, we don't know who it's going to be. I haven't decided yet. We'll figure something out, but it's going to be an epic guest. He's going to be hard to beat, but we'll have somebody exceptional. So everybody stay safe. Have a good week. We'll see you next week for episode number 20. Thanks again, Matt. And we'll see you next week. Take us out, man.